Hi, my name is Meredith. I am 18 and welcome to my mental health and illness documentary. So this was originally going to be my senior project for high school. However, because of the unfortunate global pandemic, all senior projects were canceled. I have been working on this project for over 4 years, and I was going, the plan was that I was going to produce this project regardless of a pandemic or not. So here we are. So welcome to the first episode. Technically this isn't really the first episode, this is the introduction episode, basically, getting to know your host and the reasoning why I'm doing this. So in the creative process of this project, I spent a lot of time conducting interviews with people. And I acquired a range of people from either my classmates to teachers to my family members. And of course, mental health and illnesses affect everyone. So it was very important for me to, acquire people of all ages, different job descriptions, different people in my life, people I had different relationships with, people that I have never even spoken to before. I interviewed for this project. And I ended up getting around 30 people, which is quite a lot of people when you think about it. I conducted initial interviews, which were where there was no camera, no filming. I just sat down with them and got a general understanding of their standpoint and what word am I looking for? It's not interactions. Experiences. And their experiences with mental health and illnesses. And then after the initial interview, I conducted the second interview where I would ask permission to put them on camera, and I would, sit them in front of the camera and I would ask them questions about their experiences with mental health and illnesses. And so now we're here. So in this introduction episode, I'm just going to be talking about the basic reasoning behind why I want to do this project. And there are going to be other faces popping up on the screen who I've interviewed for this episode as well. I have chosen these people because after having the initial interview with them, I kind of thought that they were really good at talking. So I put them in this episode and I asked them the same questions I will be answering now. Before I get into the basic reasoning behind this series, I wanted to talk about my own experiences. Throughout this project, I will be getting very personal on camera, and I will be talking about my own illnesses, my own mental health, and I'm going to be very open and honest about it, mainly because I believe that it's important for many people who suffer with illnesses to be open and honest about them. From personal experience, keeping all of that stuff trapped inside of you, it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good at all. So I believe that hopefully through the process of this and, the fact that I'm getting very personal on camera, it will encourage others to speak openly with those of importance. So I have some notes in front of me right now. And I wrote down a basic list of, things that I suffer from, mental health problems that I have. Looking at it, that's kind of a long list. And not to take self-pity or anything or have anyone take pity on me, I'm just being completely honest, it's kind of a long list. And it's very unfortunate that it is, but you get what you get, to be honest. So things that I suffer with. I do have generalized anxiety. That affects me a lot. That is the big one. That is always there. It has always been there. Anxiety has, it never leaves. It's so annoying. But then for the rest of these, I have general symptoms of them, meaning that I do not suffer from these illnesses entirely, but I do experience very real and very strong symptoms, not enough for me to be officially diagnosed with these. So the other ones that I experience are depression, OCD, borderline personality disorder, some body dysmorphia, and I do have some trauma that I deal with. To be honest, the one that I feel the most uncomfortable talking about is borderline personality disorder. because that has a lot of negative connotations with it. Many people do not look at that illness. It's a personality disorder. They do not look at that disorder as, you know, see, like, I'm even having trouble talking about it right now because it makes me feel awkward. But, you know, we'll get to it. We'll talk about it later. I'll go more in depth about it. I know that a lot of people don't know what borderline personality disorder is, or they believe they do, but they don't actually know. But I'll get to that in a later episode. The episodes I have planned out for the series go in this order. I will be covering anxiety, depression, OCD, ADD and ADHD, and then I'm gonna throw borderline personality disorder in there just for a quick second, because I'm not really going into that much depth about borderline personality disorder. I'm only gonna go over my experiences and what the general definition of that disorder is, because it is very hard to find people who suffer from borderline personality disorder and are actually diagnosed with it and know that they have it. It's very hard to find people like that. And then we go into body image and eating disorders, as well as sleeping disorders, PTSD, and psychosis and bipolar. That's a big episode that I'm leaving towards the end, because it's a big subject that either people just don't talk about, they ignore, or they're afraid to talk about it.
I think it's important because it helps destigmatize mental health and illnesses.
With mental illness, what we want is help, right? I mean, if we're feeling mentally ill, we want to get better. And I don't think you can do that without being open and honest and talking about it.
There are a lot of people who are silently suffering. There are a lot of people who are unable to express their true feelings, how they're actually doing with those around them.
Like, I feel like people have no trouble talking about when they have a cold or when they're just like not feeling well physically, and really, I think that mental health and illness is the same thing. Like, you can't control if you are, say, suffering from symptoms of a mental health disorder, or if you happen to just be experiencing anxiety or panic or depression in a moment. And I think we need to, like, it doesn't help anyone to not talk about it, right? So it only helps the people suffering from it feel more comfortable, and then the people around them, I think it just helps them find ways to support that person.
If I were suffering from a mental illness, or someone I loved was, or one of my students was, I would want them to be able to express what it is that they're feeling, so that we could, you know, move forward towards getting them the help they need.
And I hope throughout this series, like, talking about these illnesses openly and honestly will help people learn about them and cope with them. And if they can't find the right words to express their feelings about these illnesses, their experiences about these illnesses, maybe these videos can help them. Like, if someone is having trouble opening up about their anxiety, when I come out with the anxiety episode, they can just like copy and paste a link and send it to someone and be like, this is what it feels like. These are the ways you can help me. And I really hope that it gets to that point. They play a pretty prominent role in my life. As I have mentioned before, I've got a good amount of crap up in the old Nagaroony, so, you know, it's an everyday thing. Every day I'm always learning, I'm always coping, I'm always experiencing new things with these illnesses, with these mental health problems.
So I think both first person and in terms of being a teacher, you obviously interact with students and coworkers who have a range of mental health, like wellness, let's say, like if you can think of it like a spectrum. Like, I definitely suffer from anxiety. My students, which, you know, I can't name out everything obviously for privacy reasons, but you really appreciate as a teacher, like how much people deal with.
You know, I try to think of every student as an individual. They're a person, they're a human being. And so I can't help but relate to them on a human level. And so I feel like that's where opportunities for me to help a student who may, be dealing with a mental illness sort of work towards getting better.
When you're interacting with people in your normal life, you don't necessarily get paperwork ahead of time being like, hey, here's something that's going on with your friend or your coworker. But when you're a teacher, as much as you need to get that insight, you do find out things that like they're dealing with or things that you need to be mindful of to like help be a better educator for them.
It'll be interesting because some days I won't experience anything. It'll be just a blank slate and I'll be like vibing and having a great day. And then another day, anxiety will kick in. Some depressive symptoms will kick in. I'll get really BPD for a day, and then it's something that I have to learn how to control, how to manage. And sometimes there are days where I am unable to manage them. I know that there have been many times where like my symptoms of borderline personality disorder have literally taken over a day. A lot of my actions are regrettable because of these illnesses, and if I am unable to learn and cope and find the right ways to work out with these basic alliances with these illnesses, then it's a terrible downfall.
I've thought about this before because I actually think that all of us probably, right, have some degree of mental illness in ourselves all the time, and we may not recognize it when we ourselves are feeling it.
I mean, I think to a certain extent that depends on the person, right, and depends on the mental illness. I think probably one of the hardest things about dealing with a mental illness is that you don't just have like the symptoms and the issues with that mental illness. You have like isolation on top of that. So you have like a loneliness that compounds whatever feelings of anxiety or depression or like otherwise mental illness you would be feeling.
Sucks ass, man. It sucks. I'm not even kidding right now. It is literally so fucking annoying. It's so annoying. Because I wish that I could go about my daily life and not have to deal with anxiety, that I could go about my daily life and not have to deal with, my traits of OCD or my traits of depression. Those things will kick in without me even wanting them to. That's what happens. They kick in, they come in, and it's like that friend, and it's like that person in your friend group that follows you around and you don't want them to be there. It's one of those people, I hate it.
Usually it has to get to a severe enough stage that it's actually having a negative impact on someone's life before we actually act on it. And so I think that when it gets to that point, I think that the way it manifests is about control. That's what I think. I feel like when people feel like they are in control of their lives, they're fine. They feel okay. I think that when mental illness creeps in and they starts to feel it more, it manifests as a lack of control. Like there's something wrong and you cannot control it. And I think that's sort of the tipping point from the sort of anxiety that we always feel, the sadness that we all feel from time to time, to being something that reaches the level of mental illness where we have to step in and say, let's figure out a way to solve this.
It's never easy. It's never simple. You're always learning. You're always figuring out what is going on. Sometimes I will wake up one day and I'll have to sit there and figure out, what's going on, like what's happening. For example, like if I'm experiencing anxiety, that is unwarranted, unprecedented fear and nervousness that I didn't ask for. And then I have to stand there and cope and try to find a way to sufficiently calm myself down, to efficiently calm myself down. if I'm feeling symptoms of depression, I need to find a way to get myself out of my goddamn bed. No matter how much my body will not get out of bed, I need to figure out how to get up. You are so unaware all the time. You are basically mentally blind all the time, because like these illnesses are coming in one after the other. You don't know what's gonna affect you next. It's terrifying. Final summation. This shit's not easy. Something that I believe that a lot of people need to understand is that, say, you know, I'm having an anxiety attack. I can't just stop myself from feeling nervous. That's not how it works. It is something that is chemically imbalancing my brain. I need to find a way to calm myself down. It's a process. It's a learning process. I've also come across the idea that it's really hard to have someone completely understand something. For example, there is no possible way that I could completely understand another person. There's no way you can do that. You're not in their head. You don't know what's going on. You don't know exactly who they are because you are not them. So when we're talking about mental health and illnesses, there's the idea that you need to take a moment to come to terms with the fact that you might not be able to understand what another person is going through. You may have similar experiences, but it is not the same. I think it's important for people to distinguish between, you know, being there to help a person and help understand what's going on than completely going through the same event. So what I am trying to accomplish with this project is to produce episodes that will help people understand different illnesses. And throughout these episodes, I will be beginning with, you know, the next episode that will be coming out is anxiety. So when I'm going about that episode, I will be talking about, in the beginning, you know, what is anxiety? Like, how does one experience anxiety? What does it feel like? And then I'll have those who have experience with anxiety, who I have interviewed, they'll come up on the screen. They will, you know, talk about their own personal experiences, how it affects them. I will be talking about my own experiences because unfortunately I also experience anxiety. And then once all of, you know, the information is out there, I will then move on in the last part of the episode to help people find different ways to cope. I'll be providing information about how to, for lack of a better word, deal with anxiety. And then for those who don't experience anxiety, how they can help those who suffer with anxiety. I'm basically trying to make this an educational documentary series because I believe it's very important for people to understand that this shouldn't be something that is just ignored. It is too important and it affects too many people for it to just be pushed aside. So I hope that throughout the series, you'll learn a couple things. You'll maybe learn something you didn't know before about mental health and illnesses. And I hope that throughout this process, I will be able to accurately relay information about the effects of mental health and illnesses on those around you. I would love it if, you know, I could get this done before the summer. That's my plan, but we'll see where this goes. So thank you for watching the introduction episode to my documentary series. I will be coming out with the first episode about the first illness that I will be discussing, which is anxiety. I'll be coming out with that soon, hopefully. It's just the actual illness episodes will be difficult for me to put together because there's a lot of different people who I interviewed for them, a lot of different people on camera for them. You know, you have to edit it together, make it look good, put the music in there, blah, whatever. Okay. Quick little shout out. The music that is going to be used in these episodes is made by Vincent Capodilupo. He was very nice when I reached out to him. because like I didn't want to just like pull something off YouTube and like pirate music or anything. I wanted to make this special. I wanted people to be noticed and recognized throughout this project. So Vincent makes some really good music. I'll put his, I believe it's his Instagram account. I'll put his handle on the screen. But yeah, he was really awesome about it. Like I asked him, I was like, hey, this is my senior project. Do you think you can make music for it? And he was like, yeah. And then literally like 2 days later, he sends me like music and I'm like, oh my God. So the amazing music you're going to be hearing in these episodes are made by Vincent. And follow him, listen to his music. He is very creative, very talented. And that's about it. Something else that I will be doing is that at the end of each episode, I will be putting out websites, hotlines for mental health and illnesses. So like even at the end of this episode, there will be an end card which has different websites you can visit, different numbers you can call for certain mental health subjects, certain illness subjects. I just want to make sure that there is enough information out there so people can educate themselves, people can learn about new things, and if it is an emergency, they have the right sources to contact. So thank you so much for watching. I will be coming out with more episodes soon, and bye!